Where are you watching from? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Ms. Elena Rivera, a dedicated middle school teacher, was known for her radiant smile and her tireless commitment to her students. By day, she inspired young minds at Roosevelt Academy, her classroom filled with laughter, hope, and the aroma of fresh chalk. But by night, Elena transformed. Beneath the strobe lights and the pulsating beats of the Velvet Lounge, she became Luna, the enigmatic singer who captivated the nightclub's patrons with her voice. Life hadn't been easy for Elena. Mounting medical bills for her mother's treatment and debts from her younger brother's legal troubles left her with no choice but to juggle two lives. Teaching was her passion, but it didn't pay enough. The Velvet Lounge offered her the chance to earn extra cash, even if it meant keeping her double life a secret. For months, Elena managed the balancing act. She'd teach history during the day, her hair tied neatly in a bun, her clothes modest and professional. At night, she donned glamorous outfits, smoky eye makeup, and a persona that felt both liberating and dangerous. She'd leave the nightclub in the early hours of the morning, barely catching a few hours of sleep before returning to her classroom. Despite the exhaustion, she never let her students down. One evening, after a particularly thrilling performance at the Velvet Lounge, Elena's world tilted. As she stepped off the stage, still glowing from the applause, she spotted a familiar face in the crowd. Standing near the bar, nursing a glass of whiskey, was none other than Mr. Alan Cooper, the stoic and sharp-eyed principal of Roosevelt Academy. Panic seized her. She turned quickly, ducking into the staff-only hallway. Her heart raced as she thought about the consequences. If Mr. Cooper recognized her, her career could be over. The judgment from her colleagues, the whispers from parents, the disillusionment of her students, it would all come crashing down. The next morning, Elena arrived at school, bracing herself for the worst. She avoided Mr. Cooper's office, hoping he hadn't pieced things together. But as the day went on, her anxiety grew. Finally, just as she was preparing to leave, her phone buzzed with a text. "See me in my office. A. Cooper." Elena's hands trembled as she knocked on the principal's door. "Come in," his voice called. Inside, Mr. Cooper sat behind his desk, his face unreadable. He gestured for her to sit. "Ms. Rivera," he began, his tone neutral, "I attended a certain establishment last night. Imagine my surprise when I saw you there." Elena's throat went dry. "Mr. Cooper, I can explain." He raised a hand, silencing her. "Relax, Ms. Rivera. I'm not here to judge you. In fact, your performance was extraordinary." She blinked, unsure how to respond. "But," he continued, leaning forward, "you understand the delicate nature of this situation. If word were to get out, it could damage not only your reputation, but the school's." "I know," she whispered. "Please, Mr. Cooper, I'm only doing this to support my family. I can't afford to lose my job." He studied her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, he smiled. "You're a remarkable teacher, Elena. And while your extracurricular activities are unconventional, I have no intention of ruining your career." Relief washed over her, but it was short-lived. "However," he said, his tone turning sharp, "there is something I need from you." Her heart sank. "What do you mean?" "I have a personal matter," he said, carefully choosing his words. "A problem I believe someone with your adaptability could help resolve. Consider it a mutually beneficial arrangement." Elena's instincts screamed that this was dangerous territory, but with her back against the wall, she nodded. "What do you need?" Mr. Cooper leaned back, his smile returning. Let's just say it involves a delicate negotiation. I'll provide the details when the time is right. Until then, your secret is safe with me." As Elena left his office, her mind swirled with questions. What had she just agreed to? And could she trust Mr. Cooper to keep his word? That night at the Velvet Lounge, as she sang under the spotlight, she felt the shadows closing in around her. Her double life was no longer her own. The following week passed in a haze. Mr. Cooper didn't mention their conversation, but Elena felt his gaze on her more often than she liked. She couldn't tell if it was curiosity, admiration, or something darker. She tried to focus on her teaching, but every glance at the clock reminded her of the looming uncertainty. On Friday afternoon, just as she was packing up for the weekend, another text buzzed on her phone. "Tonight, midnight, 145 Grove Street. Tell no one. A. Cooper." Elena's pulse quickened. She debated ignoring the message, but fear of what he might do kept her from defying him. When the time came, she slipped into her sleek black dress, the one that blended practicality with allure, and left for the address. 145 Grove Street turned out to be an upscale apartment building. Mr. Cooper was waiting in the lobby, impeccably dressed, and holding a small briefcase. He gestured for her to follow him to the elevator. Neither spoke as they ascended to the 12th floor. Inside the apartment, Elena was greeted by a man she didn't recognize. He was tall, with a chiseled jaw and cold, calculating eyes. Mr. Cooper introduced him as Victor Lane, a business associate. Victor's presence unnerved her. "Ms. Rivera," Victor said, his voice smooth but menacing. "I hear you're a woman of many talents." Elena glanced at Mr. Cooper, who offered a reassuring nod. "What exactly do you need me to do?" she asked. Victor's lips curled into a smile. "It's simple. There's a particular ledger I need retrieved. It's being held in a private office downtown. Normally, I'd handle this myself, but the situation requires a more subtle touch." Elena stared at him, disbelief flooding her. "You want me to steal something?" "Borrow," Mr. Cooper interjected, his tone calm. "We'll ensure it's returned before anyone notices. You'll be compensated generously, of course." "And if I say no?" she asked, her voice trembling. Victor's smile vanished. "Let's just say your position at Roosevelt Academy isn't the only thing at risk." Elena felt trapped, her mind racing for an escape. But as Victor handed her a keycard and a set of instructions, she realized she had no choice but to comply. That night, as she stood outside the office building, her heart pounded in her chest. The shadows seemed to whisper secrets, and the weight of her double life pressed down on her. With a deep breath, she swiped the keycard and stepped inside, ready to face whatever lay ahead.
Elena returned the ledger successfully, but the act had shaken her to her core. She hoped it would be the end of her dealings with Mr. Cooper and Victor Lane. However, her nightmare deepened just days later, when Mr. Cooper was found dead in his office. The news hit Roosevelt Academy like a thunderclap. Whispers swirled about his sudden demise, but when Elena arrived at school that morning, she noticed something far worse. Police officers waiting for her. "Ms. Rivera, we need you to come with us for questioning," one officer said grimly. Elena's world crumbled as she was escorted away, her colleagues and students watching in stunned silence. At the station, detectives laid out their case: her connection to the Velvet Lounge, her secret meeting with Mr. Cooper, and the timing of his death all painted her as the prime suspect. The evidence was circumstantial but damning. Locked in a holding cell, Elena's despair deepened. She thought of her students, the only bright spot in her chaotic life. It was then that she received an unexpected visitor, Mia Thompson, one of her brightest students. "Ms. Rivera, I know you didn't do it," Mia said firmly, her eyes blazing with determination. "I'm going to help you prove it." Elena was shocked. "Mia, this is too dangerous. You shouldn't be involved." You always told us to stand up for what's right, Mia replied, and I'm not letting them take you down for something you didn't do. Mia revealed that she'd overheard her parents discussing Victor Lane, a name that had recently surfaced in local scandals. She suspected he was connected to Mr. Cooper's death. Using her tech skills, Mia hacked into public records and found suspicious financial dealings linked to Victor's name. With Mia's help, Elena pieced together the truth. Victor had used Mr. Cooper to launder money through the school's funds. When Cooper grew uneasy and tried to back out, Victor eliminated him and framed Elena to silence any loose ends. With the evidence Mia uncovered, Elena's lawyer presented a compelling case to the authorities. Victor Lane was arrested, and Elena's name was cleared. However, the ordeal left scars. Returning to her classroom, she realized her life would never be the same, but she vowed to keep fighting for her students and herself. As for Mia, she became a symbol of courage among her peers, proving that even in the darkest times, a single light could guide the way. After Victor Lane's arrest, Elena believed the worst was behind her. But weeks later, she found an unmarked envelope in her mailbox. Inside was a photo of her on stage at the Velvet Lounge, taken from the shadows, along with a note. "This isn't over. V." Her stomach dropped. How could Victor still be pulling strings from behind bars? Strange events began to plague Elena's life. Her car's tires were slashed. Anonymous callers left cryptic messages about unfinished business. And one night, she returned home to find her apartment door slightly ajar. Nothing seemed to be missing, but the intrusion left her unnerved. Elena turned to Mia once again. Digging deeper, Mia discovered that Victor Lane had a network of associates who had not been arrested. Worse, their investigation pointed to someone even closer to Elena, an influential figure within Roosevelt Academy. This person had been secretly working with Victor, using the school as a front for criminal enterprises. The betrayal cut deep. Elena realized her fight wasn't just about clearing her name anymore. It was about uncovering the truth behind the corruption that had infiltrated every aspect of her life. Together, she and Mia vowed to expose the real mastermind, even as the shadows closed in tighter around them. Weeks had passed since Victor Lane's arrest, and Elena Rivera's name had been cleared. The relief of her newfound freedom was tempered by the reality that her life would never be the same. Though she was reinstated at Roosevelt Academy, whispers of her double life and the murder investigation lingered among the staff and students. Elena had hoped for peace, but fate had other plans. One crisp autumn morning, as Elena prepared for her first period, a letter was slid under her classroom door. It was unmarked, save for a single word scrawled on the envelope: Luna. Her stomach churned as she opened it. Inside was a photograph of her singing on stage at the Velvet Lounge, accompanied by a chilling note. "You can't escape the shadows. V." Victor Lane was in prison, but his reach seemed endless. Elena's hands trembled as she tucked the letter into her bag, determined to keep her students from noticing her fear. She couldn't afford another scandal, but the weight of the threat loomed large. That evening, Elena met with Mia Thompson, the tech-savvy student who had helped clear her name. Mia had become more than just a student. She was a confidant, wise beyond her years. As Elena explained the letter, Mia's eyes narrowed with determination. "We need to find out who sent this," Mia said. "Victor might be in prison, but his network isn't." Elena hesitated. "I can't drag you into this again, Mia. It's too dangerous." Mia smirked. "You're not dragging me into anything. I'm volunteering. Besides, you taught me to fight for what's right." Reluctantly, Elena agreed. Mia dove into her research, scouring digital trails and public records. She uncovered something startling. Victor Lane's network extended far beyond what they had imagined. High-profile figures, including a member of Roosevelt Academy's board of directors, were implicated in laundering money and covering up illicit activities. The name that stood out was Philip Grayson, a wealthy benefactor with a spotless public image. Elena's resolve hardened as she realized the danger wasn't just external, it was embedded within her own school. She decided to confront Philip Grayson directly, but she knew she couldn't do it alone. To her surprise, help came from an unexpected source. Detective Evelyn Carter, one of the officers who had initially suspected her. Detective Carter had been quietly investigating Victor Lane's network. "I owe you an apology, Ms. Rivera," she admitted. "We got it wrong before, but I want to make it right. Let's take these people down together." With Carter's resources and Mia's skills, the trio devised a plan to expose Grayson. They discovered that he would be hosting a gala at his mansion to celebrate a new funding initiative for Roosevelt Academy. It was the perfect opportunity to gather evidence and confront him. On the night of the gala, Elena donned an elegant black dress, blending in with the city's elite. Mia, disguised as a catering assistant, slipped into the mansion with a hidden device to access Grayson's private files. Detective Carter attended as a guest, ready to act if things went south. As Elena mingled, she kept an eye on Grayson. He was charming and charismatic, but his facade couldn't hide the greed in his eyes. Mia signaled from across the room, indicating she'd gained access to his office. Elena followed her upstairs, careful not to draw attention. Inside the office, Mia worked quickly, copying files onto a flash drive. Just as they were about to leave, the door swung open. Philip Grayson stood there, his expression cold and menacing. "I had a feeling you'd try something like this," he said. "You should have stayed in your lane, Ms. Rivera." Elena's heart raced as Grayson stepped closer. Before he could act, Detective Carter appeared in the doorway, her badge held high. "It's over, Grayson. We have everything we need." Grayson laughed bitterly. "You think you've won? My connections will bury you." But as Carter placed him in handcuffs, Mia held up the flash drive. "We'll see about that." The evidence gathered that night led to a series of arrests, dismantling Victor Lane's network and exposing the corruption within Roosevelt Academy. Philip Grayson's downfall made headlines, and Elena was hailed as a hero for her courage. With her name cleared and her secret life no longer a weapon against her, Elena felt a newfound sense of freedom. She decided to continue teaching, but also embraced her passion for singing in a new way. She began hosting music workshops for her students, teaching them to find their voices just as she had found hers. As for Mia, her bravery and ingenuity earned her a scholarship to a prestigious university, where she planned to study cybersecurity. She remained close to Elena, their bond unshakable. One evening, as Elena stood in her classroom, watching the sunset through the window, she reflected on how far she'd come. The shadows that once threatened to consume her had become a source of strength. She had faced them head-on and emerged stronger, ready to inspire her students to do the same. For the first time in years, Elena felt truly free, and as she turned to greet her incoming class, she couldn't help but smile. The best was yet to come, was yet to